Kia ora ngā hoa mā. So today it's an experiment week, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking for worms. Now, rather than getting out the spade and tearing into mum and dad's backyard, what we're going to do is we're going to do a much easier method than that, and also less destructive. And when I mean destructive, quite often what happens is when you go and dig up the backyard looking for worms, you'll quite frequently chop them in half, especially, and people say that they grow back into two new worms, but it just doesn't work like that. You've pretty much killed the worm. And the other thing is you can kill other fantastic living organisms that are living in the ground. In New Zealand, some of the things that you'll find when you dig up the dirt at home, carefully, if you got to go that way, is you'll find cicada nymphs. And if you don't know what a cicada nymph is, a cicada nymph is the grub stage of a cicada. And so basically what happens is the cicada lives underground as this little grub, and if you ever actually happen to find one, they kind of look like a really, really pale cicada before they get that beautiful green color, and they don't have the wings either. And that's when when you're at home, you'll see there's like the shell on the tree of the cicada. And what happens is that nymph crawls out of the ground, climbs up the nearest tree, that shell dries out and splits at the back, and then the adult cicada emerges from this shell, and that's when they start playing all that clicking sound and all that kind of stuff. But what we're focused on today is we're looking for worms, and in order to do that, it's really simple. You don't need a spade, you just need a little bit of time, and you need some, this is my solution here, this is palm olive and water. If you don't know what that is, that's dishwashing soap. In America you might call it fairy liquid, I think it's called. So just dishwashing soap mixed with a bit of water. I'm going to fill this one up a bit more so I've got a bit more to use. You don't need too much, maybe a tablespoon of water, dishwashing liquid to a whole bottle of water. I think this holds about 1.5 litres of water, I think, something like that. Half a gallon, something like that. And what essentially is happening is the soap and the water mixed together. The soap breaks down the surface tension of the water, so it's more easily able to penetrate the ground and flow into all of the little capillaries and holes that are in the ground where the worm lives. And then what happens is it also has a slight irritant on the worm, and so that makes the worm want to come out to the surface. And you'll be actually surprised how fast this works. Now, because we're not aiming to harm the worm, we don't want to hurt the poor guy, we just want to investigate and look at him. I've got some paper towels here, and these paper towels I'm going to put inside my ice cream container. Any container will do. And I'm going to soak the paper towels in fresh clean water. So I have some set aside that are dry, some that are set aside in fresh water, and so I'll put the worm, let him gently roll around. I'm not going to like rub him because I don't want to hurt him, but let him clean his skin off, and then I'll use this stuff to dry him out again, and then I'll have like another container that's got a bit of clean water so he's nice and clean, because the object is that we want to observe these creatures without hurting them. And I know a worm scene, oh man, what do I want to look at a worm for, but have you ever looked at a worm before? They're actually quite a fascinating creature, and especially the big ones. When you get really big ones, you'll find that they have these almost like little hairs on their body which they use to help themselves propel through the dirt. Now, there's another trick that you need to know, and I'm going to show you that when we go outside in a second, but you want to look for a place, that a grassy bank or a small grassy hill. If you've only got a flat grass backyard and that's the only place you can do it there, but you're probably going to get better results from a grass bank. And I've done this plenty of times, and we've found this out just through the use of science. On average, you get more worms and larger worms from a bank, and I'll explain that a little bit more when we go outside. Another thing that you might want to have is a magnifying glass of some description. Now, with the magnifying glass, it just makes it easier to observe and have a look at your worm. Now, I don't want to put any suggestions into your head, but I know there are people out there that would misuse a magnifying glass to look at worms, but that's not what we're going to be using them for. Okay? Bear with me. We'll be back.
Okay, YouTubers, I'm back here. I'm actually at the top of the grass bank. Ideally, I'd like to be at the base of the grass bank. The reason because is when we going on a bank or a slope of grass works better because the ground is much more irrigated. Worms don't like to be in ground where there's a lot of water, and so they're obviously on a bank because all this water on the bank flows down to the flat spot, and that's why I suggest not to do it on a flat spot. It'll still work, there'll be some worms in there, but you won't get as good a result as you would on a bank. So here's my magic water. I call it magic water because this is when the magic happens. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tip it onto the ground. Now be aware, because you're tipping it onto a bank, the water is going to naturally flow down. So even though you've tipped it in this area here, you need to be looking at worms, everything from here all the way down. Okay, now it will go quite far. It can take a little while for it to work. In some cases it's taken anywhere from 10 minutes for you to see the first worm, but on occasion I have seen worms within about the first minute or so, sometimes even 30 seconds. Okay, YouTubers, I'm back again. So it's roughly been not maybe 40 seconds, and I thought I'd better turn off the video because I didn't want people waiting around for a worm to appear while I do a random monologue. But I've actually just seen my first worm appear. Now where is he? He's gone again. He was here just a second ago. Where did he go? So if you don't get results within a certain amount of time, sometimes it helps to pour a little bit of more water. I've diluted this water quite a lot. I probably could have had more soap in there. If you don't succeed with an experiment too, don't give up. You might want to go to another spot. One of the things I suggest though is you do want to wait a significant amount of time. You don't want to walk away and then worms start popping out of the ground and then birds come and start eating them, because that's not nice for the worm. But here we go, here's a worm. Starting to get a little bit of action. These are quite small worms to start off with. Oh, goodness me, he's swimming through the grass here. Okay. So that's my first worm. Okay, and as I said before, we stick them in the container. That's damp paper towels to help get rid of some of the soap off of the skin. Because this is quite a dilute one, I'm not too worried about it. Okay, I've got another worm here. Okay, these are quite small ones. The longest worm that I've ever done caught using this method was about 30 centimeters long. Here's another one. Okay, so you can see how effective this is. I haven't had to put a spade in the ground. I've been recording for roughly 3 minutes with a 40-second gap in between. I probably wouldn't quite be finished digging a hole by that amount of time, and I might have only found one. I can see more little ones coming through. I'm just waiting to see if a big one comes out. Oh, here's another one. No, got away. The trick is too, is you do want to wait for them to come out of the ground. You don't want to try and grab them and pull them out, because you will hurt the poor guy and rip him in half. And you don't want to do that. But you can see, I can still see more worms coming out of the ground now, but you can see that that's quite an effective method of catching worms. See this one, oh sorry, you can see that one, well, that one there, and that one there. Okay, so these are some of the bigger ones, and there's quite a lot of small ones, but depending on the bank that you get, or the hill, or the area that you do it in, you can get some big worms. The biggest I've caught is about 30 centimeters long. So yeah, okay, I hope you enjoyed that video, If you like what you've seen and you want to learn some more stuff from Mr. Ashley's Place, please subscribe at the link down below.